our growth is not in her.
Hi guys, welcome to the Code Python channel. In today's video, we are going to look about while loops. And before starting the video, guys, in case if you guys have not watched the previous videos, links are pasted down in the description, and I will also add those links in the I button. Please go ahead and check out those videos too. So in this tutorial, guys, we are going to learn about while loop. So while loop is something which repeats the code of block as long as some expression is true. So I have created a while underscore loops.py file, and that file is being created inside this folder, which is code underscore python file. Sorry, the folder, and inside this there is a file called while underscore loops. So we're gonna start writing our first example. So I'm gonna define a variable I equals to 0 here, and I'm gonna start the while loop with while, and then I'm gonna write an expression. So it is I less than equals to 5. So while I is less than 5, I'm gonna print the I, and I'm also gonna raise the counter, which is I have defined it all the way up here. So I presently equals to 0, so when it's gonna start run, so while I is less than equals to 5, so this will I at the first instance will be 0, so 0 less than 5 is the expression true, so it's gonna come inside and then it's gonna print I, which is 0. Then I is going to be incremented by 1, so I plus equals to 1 is just like I equals to I plus 1. So this is what basically this means. It's just like a shorthand form to avoid the code repeatancy. So I'm just gonna erase that, and we are gonna stick with this where it says I plus equals to 1 is nothing but, so say for example this is 0. Now the counter is going to be increased by 1, so the I in the second iteration will be 1. So here now I value will be equals to 1, which is less than 5. So this expression is true. Then again it's going to come inside the print and it's going to print out the I value. So it's going to go all the way till I becomes 5. So now I equals to 5 here. So 5 is less than 5. So this expression becomes false. So it's going to come out and it is going to print from, and it's going to print all the values and it's going to stop the program. So let's just see how it works. So I'm gonna put it back from 5 to 0. Let's save the file, come back to the command prompt. I'm gonna clear the screen, and here I'm gonna run the program. If I do a dir, you can see still I am inside the folder code underscore python, and we have a file while underscore loops.py. I'm gonna run the program, typing python space and the file name. Then I'm gonna hit tab to autocomplete the file name, and I'm gonna hit the enter. So you guys can see it is starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So Python index always starts from 0. So 0 is the first one, then 2, 3, 4, and the 5. So it has printed all the 5 elements which got iterated, and then it printed out to the console. So I'm just going to clear the screen, come back to the editor. So apart from this, so one thing to notice, guys, is that we are not guaranteed that the code inside the block is going to run at all. So what I mean by that is, so say for example, if I'm going to say I have defined this equals to 0, and you guys want to execute the block here, but say for example, if I here equals to 5, then if I save this file once again, and if I come back to the command prompt and I'm running this file again, so you guys can see the code has not ran at all. And you can see because this condition, the IE was always, the I was defined as 5, and this expression got evaluated to false. So the code inside it was never executed. What if we want to run the code at least once? So in the other programming languages, we can imitate the same process by making use of do while, but in this case, in Python, we don't have do while loop. So though we don't have a do while loop, we can imitate the same action, the do. It's just like the other programming having do something while this expression, the expression which you give, is true. So here guys, what we can do is we can imitate the do while loop inside using using the code something like this. I'm going to define I equals to 5. I'm going to write while true. I'm going to print the value of I, and I'm also going to check if I is less than equals to 5, and I'm going to break. If this is true, the expression which it says I is less than equals to 5, if this is true, if this is evaluated true, then the loop is going to break and it is going to come out. So in this case, you guys can see no matter the expression is false or true, uh, before that the value of I is going to be getting printed at least once. So this is how we can imitate a do while loop here. Let me just save the file here and let me come back to the command prompt. I'm going to say Python, and I'm going to take the while underscore loops.py file and hit the enter to run the file. So you guys can see 5 is getting outputted to the screen. So this makes that, so even though the expression was getting checked after the value of I is getting printed to the output screen, so the I is less than equals to 5 is getting evaluated true. So that is the reason it is going inside the if block and it is going to break the statement. So we can also see another example of the while loop, how we can use while loop. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable sky underscore color, and I'm going to define it to the blue. And what we're going to do is we're going to let user decide if whether the sky color is blue or not through the while loops. And we are going to do it making use of while. I'm going to say true. So when I say while true, so this is going to mean that this loop is going to get executed forever if we don't add any exceptions or if we don't break the loop at certain point. So what I'm going to do is the next inside the loop, I'm going to add another variable guess underscore color, and I'm going to take the value of this guess color from the user. So here the input function, what it does is it takes the value from the user from when the user inputs something from the keyboard, the value has been taken from the input and is going to return, and the guess underscore color is going to hold that value. I'm going to say please guess the sky color here. What I'm going to do is after this I'm going to add if sky color equals to the guess color, and if it is equal to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break and I'm going to prompt them stating you have guessed it right. So what here actually is happening is if you guys can see, while true the loop is going to run, it is going to come inside the loop. Guess color is going to be the color which is outputted by the user here. So what we can do better to understand here is I'm going to convert the guess color into the lowercase. So this is why I'm doing this is if the user inputs anything in the capital letters or in the small letters, so it should evaluate to true. So what I'm going to do is you guys can see I have defined be all the letters blue as a small letters, and whatever the value comes in from the input, we are going to convert those value to the lowercase, and then we are going to match it with the sky color. So let's just run this program. I'm going to come into the command prompt and I'm going to run Python and the while underscore loops, and I'm going to hit the enter. So it is going to prompt me to enter the color. So at the first time I'm going to enter red and I'm going to hit enter. So this is not the color. So that is the reason it is giving me, it is again prompting me to add the color. So it is not going to end the program unless and until I provide the correct color. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to provide green, which is not again the correct color. So now I'm going to do blue and I'm going to hit enter. So it is going to exit the code state saying you have guessed it right. So this is how we can use the while loop to have the iterations like this, and this is quite useful in some cases. So what now we have something like continue statements, break statement. So we have seen already the break statement. What break statement does here is it breaks out of the loop and terminates the loop immediately, whereas continuous statement is used to skip the rest of the code inside a loop for the current iteration only. So loop here does not terminate, but the iteration does. So what it does is, let me just give an example. I'm going to say I equals to 0, and I'm going to say while I is less than 6, I am going to say I less or plus equals to 1, and I'm going to say if I equals to 3, I'm going to say continue, and then at the last I'm going to print the I. So this code, what it is doing here is, so I have defined I equals to 0. Here the expression is, it is getting evaluated. So the I is less than 6 at the first iteration is going to be true. So it is going to come inside the loop. It is going to increment that I value, which is 0. And now after incrementing, it is going to become 1. And after that, here I am doing a if check. What I am doing a if check is, I am checking if I is equal to 3 or not. In this case it is not. Okay, so it is, this statement is going to get evaluated to false, so it is not going to go inside the if block, and it is going to print out the value which is 0, and it is going to go again. It is going to do at the second iteration for 2, again it is going to print out the value 2, and again it is going to come back to 3. When it comes to 3, here if I equals to 3, so 3 equals to 3 is going to evaluate as true. So now the whole iteration here is going to get skipped. Only one iteration is going to get skipped. I am saying continue, and I'm not going to print the value I here. The I value is currently 3, so that is not going to get printed out. And then 4, 5, and those values are going to get iterated like normally. So let's just see that thing. I'm going to save this. I'm going to come back again to the command prompt. I'm here going to say Python, and I'm going to run the file. I'm going to hit enter. So you guys can see 1 is executed, 2 is printed out, but there is no 3 value. And the reason behind it, we have checked if I equals to 3, and we have inside the block we have given the continue statement. So the continue statement, what it is doing is, it is skipping the rest of the code inside a loop for the current iteration only. So here loop here does not terminate, but only the iteration does. So I think you have understood how continue works, how break works. So we also have another thing. So with while loops, what we can do is we can add the else clause with the while loop also. So how we can do that is, the way else clause here works with while is that the else clause of the while loop will execute only if the while loop contains statement, if it encounters the break statement. So what I mean by that is, let me just create or instantiate a list. So in this list I'm going to add a couple of values, which is 1, 2 and 3. Apart from this, I'm also going to create one more variable with val, and I'm going to assign a value of 10 to that. And apart, I'm going to also create one more variable. I'm going to say it as found, and I'm going to assign it as a boolean value false. And apart from that, one last variable, which is index, I'm going to set it as 0. So what my basic purpose here is, guys, so we are going to check through this list, we are going to iterate through this list, and we're going to see if 10 is there inside the values or not. If it is there, we are going to break the loop, and if it is not there, we are going to append that 10 value inside the list, and then we are going to break. So how we are going to do that? So we have defined a bunch of variables here. I'm also going to say while index, okay, while the index, if it is less than length of L, which is the length of the list, I'm going to come inside the loop, and I'm going to say if L, the list, the index. So say for example, at the first iteration, this index value is going to be 0. So L of 0 means the value of 1, and we are going to check if the L of index, if it is equal to the value. If it is equal, we have definitely, so say for example, the value of 1 is not 1, and let's just assume it is 10. So this is 10. So at this case, at the first instance, so this is going to be true, and we are going to go inside the if statement, and we are going to change the found value from false to true. Okay, and we are going to break the loop if in case the first iteration, if the value, if it is not equals to the val, if this is false, then what we are going to do is we're going to come and we are going to increase the index to plus or equals to 1. So what we're doing is we are basically increasing the counter here to iterate through all the list elements. And now what we're going to say is if not found, so we are going to say l dot append. So I'm going to say, so this should be outside the loop actually. So l dot append, and I'm going to say I'm going to append the val here, and after appending the value, I'm also going to print the value, which is the list. So let's just see, guys. Let's come to the command prompt, create screen, and I'm going to run Python and then the while underscore loops.py file. If I hit enter now, so you guys can see 1, 2, 3. So it has not found the 10 inside the list. So it has appended the value to the list and it has printed out the value. We can do something with some similar piece of code. How we can do that is, let me just take out the if condition from here and add else. And then I'm going to say l dot append. So I'm going to append the value to the list l, and we are going to print out the l value. So this code is also very similar. So instead of using if statement here, we are using else, and this else is only going to get executed if it founds the break statement inside it. See, so now in this case, it is not going to find the 10 value inside the list. So it is going to append that value to the list and it is going to print the L. So let's just see. I'm going to save the file, come back to the command prompt. I'm going to say python while underscore loop.py and I'm going to hit enter. So you guys can see again it has emitted the same behavior, but this time we are using the else clause. So say for example, what if we found the value 10 inside the list? So I'm gonna add 10 here, save the file, come back to the command prompt. I'm gonna say python while underscore loop.py and I'm gonna hit enter. So you guys can see it has actually found the value. So that is the reason it has found it and it has made this true and it has break the statement. So this is how we make use while with else clause. So in this tutorial, guys, we have actually learned about while. We have learned about a lot of statements here, which is break, continue, and how is that we can imitate a do while kind of a situation with just the while loops. And apart from that, we also have come across how we can use the else clause with the while loop. So I hope, guys, this helps you understand while loops a little better, so that you can use the while loops in your programming concepts. So apart from this, guys, if you guys have not watched the previous videos, I please suggest you to go back and find all the videos which is there in the description, and you guys can watch from there. And please subscribe this channel. And until the next video, happy coding.